This is SwarfCast. I'm Noah Graff. I am very honored to be with the great Lloyd Graff again today. My dad, my boss, my business partner, he is tapped in to the machining world like me as machinery dealers. And today we're going to talk about some of the surveys I've been doing. I've been doing a lot of polls on LinkedIn and just really interesting questions about AI, about jobs in manufacturing, about tariffs, and I'm going to talk about them, ask Lloyd about them, see his thoughts, and see where the conversation goes. So just to begin with, here is a question that just totally applies to us. If you had $100,000 to invest in your shop, where would it go? This is one that I asked people. I got 53 votes from my followers and 119 votes from CNC machine networkers.
So what were your options?
The options were a new machine, hiring/training, automation/robots, and other. So was asking people if they had $100,000 to invest, where would it go? Would you like me to tell you what it was and then interpret, or would you like to tell me what you were guessing?
Well, I'm going to be difficult and say other.
Other? Okay. So $100,000 for other. What would that other be?
Well, tell me about your choices first.
Well, I just...
No, tell me about the choices of the people who answered the question were.
Well, you just said you wanted to choose other.
Right, but our audience doesn't know what the answers were.
Okay. Well, fine. I'll give you the scoop. About 45% selected a new machine. And then an average of 15% was hiring training. And then another 35% said automation robots. So you got 45% with a new machine and 35% with automation robots. And then only 25% or 30% hiring and training. So what does this surprise you that automation and a new machine would be the number one thing people would invest in? What are we seeing that would kind of go along with that?
It does not surprise me because people tend to use the answers that you propose for them. But I would like to propose another answer, and it's contrary to the way people normally think in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
And that answer would be sales. Sales and advertising and an attempt to get new clients or to expand the clients that you have. And
interesting. But what kind of sales? I mean, I've just done some recent podcasts where people talked about how traditional salesmen, saleswomen, that's not the thing anymore. Buyers want videos and social media advertising. So maybe that would be the place to put your budget.
I think that's one of the primary places to go. And that could be LinkedIn. It could be other other social media. That means direct email. It could be,
And $100,000 could get you quite far with that, with hiring a
it
social
could be,
media
it
person
could be
or
hiring somebody to make phone calls, and that in order to just get prospects.
yeah, but I don't know if the phone calls do it because, well, according to a podcast I did with this guy Damon Pistolka, he says, the Gen Z buyers now, they really they don't even want to pick up the phone.
I think that is indeed a problem. However, one thing that may be neglected, and I ask people to prove me wrong, and that is the visits to potential clients or to clients
Yes.
to see if business can be expanded. Okay, I know how difficult it is to get new clients, but is it possible to expand the business that you have? And one thing which is that you need a combination of these things is that we're hearing about clients who are getting military business because there is a lot of that out there now.
Mm-hmm.
And I would argue that it's not done simply by submitting the low bid.
That's more about bidding, though,
It
than other
might be
things.
by buying out another company that
Yes.
has military contracts. It might be that new equipment is required for that contract, and ammunition, other things like that.
Yeah.
How do you get political connections? You know people.
Right.
You contribute to people's campaigns. I don't know, but
Well, and it's also just having a good network. You know somebody who knows somebody, and um and you go through the BS to get certified. And the other thing that poll means is people are just down on the ability to hire, to find, or to train anybody. It's just
right.
easier
So
to
they
easier to
made a
buy something.
decision. They made a decision that they will take a big gamble because they're tired of hitting their head against the wall trying to find people who are steady, stable, and well trained, and are willing to work for a long period of time,
Right. And it's
and
something
can also possibly pass a security clearance.
true. I mean, we know people, we've done interviews on this show with people doing government work on Acme's. I think it's not necessarily, I guess it depends on the part.
Maybe things are changing, Noah.
Yeah, I mean, it's always changing. Um, so another interesting question that I asked, but it was 2 months ago, and that was, if Trump's tariffs were rescinded, would you be happy or not? Um, and that was interesting. What would you have predicted people would have said? More people said yes or no. This was 2 months ago.
Right. And I don't think too much has changed since then. And I would say the answer would be no. And the real reason I say that is because I think it would only magnify the indecision, which has crushed the machine tool sales and also, I would say, business as a whole in the manufacturing world. Because when you have indecision as far as your orders are concerned, you have indecision as far as making capital decisions.
Right, which
and
is why I
changes.
think the last month and a half, our business has picked up because some things are somewhat solidified. What I will say is when we did this poll 2 months ago, one poll with my followers, they said 43% said yes, they would be happy if they were rescinded, 41% no, and then 15% mixed feelings. And then out of the CNC in the group, 48% that said they would be happy, and 29% said no, and 23% said mixed. So I think, I don't know, maybe people are just, maybe they're just never happy with anything. My latest poll was which thing would be better for American manufacturing, um, automation, which is better to bring back manufacturing to the United States, and that was automation and AI or tariffs. And what I got was a lot of comments that they weren't fans of the tariffs. A lot of people, it was 55% tariffs, and 45% automation in one poll, and then 39% on tariffs and 61% on automation in the other poll. But nobody was gaga on tariffs. It was
Well, think
divided
about if your
50-50.
business uh, runs primarily either steel or aluminum. I'm not going to talk about brass particularly, but let's talk about steel and aluminum. Most of it is imported in one form or another. So that means if you're getting your steel from China via Nucor, let's say, or you're getting your steel from your aluminum, say from India or from Europe, you're going to have significant tariffs on importing that material. So that's going to be a real headache. Now, if you figure China can absorb those steel tariffs without too much pain.
Why can they absorb it without too much pain?
Because they are the low-cost producer of steel in the world. That would mean that the pain that China is feeling in manufacturing, let's say in turn parts, may be easier to absorb. So therefore, the tariffs may be doing just as much damage to American manufacturers just on raw material.
And then the other thing is machine tools are more expensive. And I don't know what our government is thinking about, but they're definitely not thinking about that. If you want investment in building shops, making more stuff, and we don't have the skills, you need more machines. And if the machines are costing 15% more from Japan or Europe, or if they're from Switzerland, Lord help you, 39% more. Tariffs don't do you any favors.
Unless you're Gene Haas.
Sure, if you're Haas. But other than that, look, I mean, anybody who listens to much of this knows that I'm not a big fan of, the people in charge. I just think it just doesn't compute how this helps American manufacturing. Theoretically, it could get jobs, maybe, if there's more stuff being made here. But how is there going to be more stuff made here if it's hard to find machines and hard to find people?
Well, I think there is one factor that is significant with the tariffs, particularly on China, and that is that it's making it fairly clear that we are in an economic war with China. And do you want to entrust vital manufacturing in a supply chain to a company that we are in an economic war with?
To a country, yeah.
Yes, as a country.
Yes, but how are these tariffs going to actually stop that?
The tariffs in and of themselves may not have that dramatic an effect if, let's say, the Chinese absorb the metal costs.
Can't they just steal the stuff anyways? Because we already have our hooks over there. I mean, is it really going to make any difference with them stealing intellectual property just because their stuff costs more to buy here?
Well, I wasn't even talking about stealing intellectual property. I mean, they know how to make steel. They're fully capable of making the standard grades of steel. But, and traditionally, they've had 3 times, 4 times, 5 times as many people working in the mills being underpaid. And the government owns the mills, and the government can make a choice to lower prices on steel prices in order to make the economy more competitive, which is not to say that China isn't having plenty of economic problems right now.
Yeah. I heard this awesome Wall Street Journal podcast about American capitalism. The way the government is putting their finger more and more in business.
Yeah, a lot of interesting things going on. I mean, with Trump wanting to take a 10% stake in Intel, and all the
stuff with U.S. Steel,
about whether we should sell the highest quality chips to China, figuring that they're going to learn how to make them anyway. They'll steal the technology anyway. So we might as well make money on them in the interim.
But he doesn't want to sell them to China?
Well, Jensen Huang has argued that what's the name of the giant chip company that you own stock in?
NVIDIA.
Pardon?
NVIDIA.
That NVIDIA ought to be able to sell the most sophisticated chip that they make to the Chinese and make a huge profit on them. They went to Trump and made the argument and also told him that they will pad his who knows what they told him.
Kiss his ring.
But that whether he runs again or not, his companies will feel the benefit of it. And in the end, rather than stopping NVIDIA from selling chips to the Chinese, they're now allowing them, but it goes back and forth from week to week. So when you have a lot of flux like this, when you have change, again, this makes companies fearful
indecisive.
of doing business, of investing in capital equipment, of hiring more people. And that's what you're seeing today.
Yeah. Well,
but interesting regarding the tariffs, you're seeing American companies also absorb the tariffs. You're seeing the big companies like Amazon and Walmart and Home Depot absorb the tariffs in order to hold on to market share or even grow market share. So the smaller companies that find it more difficult to absorb the tariffs are losing out to the giants.
Right. Right. And so then in a way it's good for the giants because they can survive it. Then now there's even less competition. One of the things in this podcast that was so interesting, I think the justification in our government for them dipping their hand in or wanting to into business is that China does it, and that's enabled China to bolster various industries.
Well, the Biden government did, the Obama government
did.
They've all figured that they want to help certain industries.
Well, they did. However, what they said was that even Biden
has failed almost invariably.
Well, even Biden was doing it, but he always got Congress's approval before he did it. Versus now, it's a little bit more like, we're going to do what we want to do. What they found was that in China, the ventures where the government had the least influence in it, was the least hands-on, did the best. So
that's interesting.
It's food for thought for people.
Totally different systems.
Absolutely.
I mean, you wonder if the government buys a 10% stake in Intel and the huge Japanese investor, Sun, has bought a huge investment in Intel. They somehow think that they can pull it out of the doldrums that the company has been in for at least the last decade. The odds of doing that are not great. What we've seen in the past.
I don't know. It's interesting. It's there's so much possibility for growth. So you kind of would hate to, it's an opportunity. The question is, does the government, the U.S. government, are they going to be able to actually help things? I mean, and you look, it's sort of ironic, right? Like our government, meanwhile, they keep dismantling things because they're saying government doesn't do as good a job as private industry. Yet now, this looks like an opportunity. Let's dip our hand into this.
Is that it's for security, and that we desperately need a manufacturer like Intel in the United States.
No, I get that.
But you would think that another chip maker who thought they could do it better than Intel would rise up rather than throwing money at a company like Intel, which has been a dramatic failure.
I don't know. I mean, I think the point is to sort of change Intel's game plan in the way they've been doing the software and the hardware. I'm not sure what they're going to do.
I think there's also fear that they had a Chinese guy who was the head of Intel of recent date, and they're fearful that he might have connections with the Chinese communists.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Where is Jensen Huang from?
He is from Taiwan.
Okay, so
his parents came to the United States when he was 8 years old, settled in the Bay Area, and in his 20s, Wang started NVIDIA with two other guys. And they have since built it into the most high-tech and profitable chip company in the world.
It's unbelievable.
And his parents had a cleaning business when he grew up.
I'm sure they're very proud. Okay, well, put on your and get out your crystal ball. What do you see for the next 4 months? And in our business and in manufacturing, machining.
It's very difficult to step out of my own skin. But if we want to look at what happened today, it appears that Trump may get his way with the Fed lowering interest rates.
Is that what happened today? They lowered interest rates.
Pardon?
Did they lower interest rates today?
No, but they have a meeting coming up in September, and Powell, the head of the Fed, made his big speech of the year in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, to other economists and other Fed members, and indicated that the Fed would be less fearful about inflation numbers and be more willing to look at they're more fearful about unemployment, and therefore people read into that the Fed would be more willing to lower interest rates and not have them stagnate as they have for the past year. Where you see mortgage rates still at 6.6%, you have nobody buying new homes, very few people changing jobs. You have stagnation in the economy.
Well, let's I don't know what the answer is, but let's hope the stagnation doesn't come as people are thinking. What we found though is once people think one thing's going to happen, often the opposite happens.
Right. And, just like we thought there would be massive inflation with these tremendous tariffs that Trump proposed, and we haven't seen it.
Not
And the
tremendous
economists
inflation. There's not inflation. It's only inflation if the government starts printing more money. Doesn't mean that prices won't go up. Not the same thing.
Okay. Rise in prices. We have not seen a dramatic rise in prices despite the tariffs. One reason for that is, companies like Amazon and Walmart.
Machine tool prices.
Another thing is that China, to some degree, has been eating the tariffs.
But machine tool prices have gone up, I think.
Machine tool prices, which is because it's a small industry, is less able to absorb to eat the tariffs. Therefore, they're simply letting the tariffs generally go through pretty much. Although we don't know what secret deals are being made by new machine tool builders.
True. Well,
so maybe they are eating some of the tariffs.
Well, I hope everybody enjoyed getting in the weeds a little bit more about the tariffs. It's every day it seems different in the world, and particularly with our current administration and our current the world right now. Everything just seems to change on a dime, which makes it interesting and exciting, but also makes people a little less decisive.
I'll say one more thing. Let's hope that the next time we have one of these talks, and hopefully fairly soon, the war between Israel and Hamas will be over and the hostages will be released, and the war in Ukraine will at least be in a state of truce.
All right. Thank you. Happy Friday. Let's get some corn. Go Cubs, go.
Thank you, Noah. I appreciated this. It was fun.
That was fun. Bye.